Hey y'all, welcome back to Chat with Coach Amy. Today I'm with one of my group clients, Patty. Patty, say hey.
Hey,
Hey. Patty, I want you to just start off by telling your story however you want to, and I will ask questions as we go. Does that sound good?
yeah, that's good. That sounds
Okay,
good.
y'all are in for a huge treat. This woman has one of the, I'm probably gonna make you cry, make me cry before we even get started. But
She
she
should be ready.
has one of the most inspiring stories that I have ever heard. And I did not, I don't know, did I know you a year or so before I knew your story? And you'd say whatever you're comfortable sharing because it's a lot of big stuff and special sacred things. And so you just share whatever you're comfortable with, and I'm going to go with the flow on that. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. You're welcome.
Um, well, my name is Patty, and I turned 52 in August. I'm married to Jason. We've been married for it'll be 10 years in April. Amazing man of God. We have two sons, a 23-year-old and a 25-year-old, and I have a daughter-in-law. My oldest got married last year, and he just recently got his master's degree, and they moved to South Carolina for his job. So it's kind of hard. And I have a baby in heaven. I had a miscarriage before my first baby was born.
Oh,
Um, so we live in Maryland, but my heart is in Vermont. My family is there. My friends are there. My church that I got saved in is there. Lived there for 42 years before Jason and I moved here. Um,
wow.
so my story is once upon a time, I was married before, someone completely different. We met as seniors in high school, and he was my first relationship. We had like an off again, on again relationship. I love you, I don't love you. He'd flirt with other people, and I just kind of thought that was normal. I didn't know any different. I didn't have an example to follow.
Right.
Um, I thought maybe I was doing something wrong. So we dated off and on for 6 years, and then we got engaged. And I wasn't a Christian then. I wasn't seeking the Lord's guidance. I didn't know any better. And so as we were planning our wedding, I actually met my best friend. He and her husband were volunteer firefighters together. And so Wednesday nights, they would go to their fire meetings, and I would go to with my friend Tammy to church. She introduced me to things of the Lord. We read the Bible together.
Oh,
I watched her serve at church. And after we got married in June, and I got saved in November. And that began a walk with the Lord that I have needed desperately. Um, so things were good for the first few years. And then he started being very controlling about what I would wear, who would I talk to, where I could go. He tried to like talk me down. He would say, "Oh, look how gorgeous that woman is," or "I really
oh,
wish you had blue eyes. Could you change to your brown eyes to blue and get contacts?" Or, you know,
wow.
he would flirt in front of people. He would talk about their body parts in front of me to them. And some days he loved me and some days he didn't, but we were married. So I really didn't know what to do about that other than pray.
Yeah.
Um, so we had our first baby. Well, we got pregnant and I lost my first baby toward the end of my first trimester. And it was devastating to me. But, people from the church, they really encouraged me. People came out of the woodwork. Hey, I've had a miscarriage. These are the verses I use. This is how
Oh,
God got me through this. And so
wow.
the Lord really ministered to me in that. Then we got pregnant with our first baby that we had, my Scotty. And the Lord is so good to me because the year to the day that I lost the baby, Scotty was born. Like God just gave beauty
Oh,
for ashes right there.
oh
And
man.
things were good for a little while. That new babyhood thing, and then all of a sudden he started having late nights. He started not coming around, or he became more and more verbally aggressive with me. And then he became physical. Um, there were times that he would just reach over in the car and slap me for no reason, or grab my throat because he was
Patty.
mad, or hiding in the closet because I didn't know what he was going to do and I was scared.
Yeah.
And I thought it was all normal. I didn't know. He We got pregnant with our second son, and my entire pregnancy, he threatened to leave me. I remember we were setting up his crib, and he told me, "I don't love you anymore. You're too fat. I don't want to be with you." I was pregnant. I was very, very pregnant. We're setting up the crib, and he's like, "You shouldn't look this big." And I found out later he was having an affair the entire time I was pregnant with our second son.
Wow.
Did not know that at the time. So one night after a pretty bad fight, I couldn't take it anymore. And I left and I found myself instinctively at the door of my church, which was open. It was like 9 o'clock at night and the doors were unlocked. And
Open?
he was in there. It was unlocked. And I
Wow.
went in and I threw myself on the altar, face down, crying, tears on the rug, and just said, God, I can't do this anymore. I can't. I need you to relieve me of this. I need you to intervene. And of course, in my finite mind, I'm thinking, oh, he's going to fix the marriage. That's what
Right.
I thought God was going to do.
Right.
Well, 3 days later, my husband left. He walked out. And I was left to be a single parent of a 3-year-old and a 17-month-old. God's intervention, I couldn't see it at the time, but that was really God's grace. That was God's
Wow.
mercy. So in our 6-month separation in Vermont, before the divorce is final, he was in relationships, and I kept my ring on the whole time, thinking God was going to do something. I wasn't sure. And right after he left, my life just fell apart. Like, I stopped getting my cycles normally. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I just couldn't take care of myself at all. And I went to the doctor, and her solution was to put me on antidepressants. So
Oh,
now I'm taking a pill to try and get my mental peace, to try to feel better.
right.
And so then while we were still married in that separation period, he came to me one day. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean any of it. I want you back. I miss the kids. I want a relationship with you again. And the very next day he showed up to pick up the kids for their visit, and he was with another girl. And in the driveway, in front of all my neighbors and in front of the boys, she's like, we're going to the mall, we're picking out engagement rings. You're not a good wife. You're not a good mother. You're not a good woman. He's never loved you. And like,
Wow.
she was like yelling at me in front of everybody and in front of the kids. And
Wow.
he looked at me and I said, is this true? And he said, yeah, it's true. And I couldn't take anymore at that point. He left with the kids for his visit, and I went inside and I got to my knees and I took my pills and I put them all in my hand. And I didn't want to hurt myself. I just wanted to numb the pain. I just wanted it to stop. And I thought, you know what? You have 2 little boys who need you. You're not going to do something stupid. Put the pills
Right.
away, and you just have to survive this. And so my best friend happened to call at that moment, and she found out what was going on. She's like, I'm calling Pastor, I'm calling Peg, his wife, and we're going to do something about this. And that started my healing.
Mm.
I went off the antidepressants and I started counseling with them. And I started finding truth statements from the Lord.
Mm.
So I've had what I call in my journal, my survival verses. And so things like Jeremiah 31:3. I knew that God loved me with an everlasting love. My husband didn't love me anymore, but God did.
Yeah.
Hebrews 13:5. My husband may leave me, but God would never leave me. He would never forsake me. Romans 8:38 and 39. Nothing separates us from the love of God. Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. I mean, those were things that I held on to and I needed to cling to because I needed the truth. Hebrews
Yeah.
6:18. It's impossible for God to lie. My ex-husband was lying to me, but God would never lie to me. And so the 6 years that followed were kind of rough for the boys and I. It was a revolving door of relationships for my ex-husband. The boys' visits would be sporadic. Sometimes he'd call and say, hey, I'm not showing up. Sometimes he would call and he would have a different girl. Sometimes he would call and they would go to his mother's because he didn't want to deal with them. And one time I actually got called to pick up the kids early because the police were called because he had thrown one of his girlfriends down the stairs.
Oh,
And
no.
I tried to seek help, and I was told legally I couldn't do anything because it was in our divorce decree that he saw them on Thursday afternoon from 4 to 8. And so I had no choice. So in the end, he eventually went to jail because 2 of the women that he had been with pressed charges. And so he went to jail for quite a while for domestic abuse. He's been in jail for other things too, but that was kind of like what started it.
Right.
So the kids have not seen him since 2009. They haven't heard from him. They haven't talked with him. God just completely
Wow.
moved him from our lives.
Wow.
So in the meantime, I was homeschooling the kids full time. I was running a daycare and I created a preschool program with a Christian focus in my home so I could be with my kids. I cleaned the church once a week for extra money. I took the boys to all their sports. They were involved in baseball and basketball and soccer and swimming, and it was all me. I did all of it. I taught Wednesday nights at church and VBS, and also managed my son's life-threatening nut allergy because he had severe eczema and asthma, and he was allergic to all nuts.
Wow.
But I had a very supportive family, a very supportive relative family and a very supportive church family. And I had the Lord. I grew immensely in my time dealing with that. 1 Peter 5:7 became my life's verse. Casting all your care upon him, he cares for you. And God continued to show himself strong. I would be praying that we didn't have any groceries, and a bag of groceries would show up out of nowhere. Winter was coming in Vermont, and the kids didn't have snow boots, and I didn't know what to do, and I didn't tell it to anybody, and I prayed about it. You know, kids grow fast. And I went to clean the church one night, and there was an envelope with my name on it, and it was a gift card to Walmart. And I was like, God just provided and provided and provided and provided, and nobody knew. I never shared these with anyone but the Lord. And the kids got to see God being real. I would share those things with them. So 7 years into that journey, my mom was like, you know, you really need to get out. You need to meet people. You should date somebody.
And you're like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah, and no thanks. My hands were full with raising kids, and I had a lot of scars. I was scared to death. And she eventually talked me into going on Christian Mingle, of all places, and I met my husband. He was in California.
Y'all don't even know. He's so darling. Bless it. I've gotten to meet him twice.
Yes, you did. You did. So he was in the Air Force, and he was in California at the time, and I was in Vermont. And who would have thought? I mean, only by the hand of God would we ever have met. You know? But still, we never met in person for 5 years. We were friends. We talked on the phone, we emailed, we Skyped, we did Bible studies together, but I still could not meet him in person. I was just too scared.
Yeah.
So eventually he showed me, you know, that God just showed me that he was the one. And after 12 and a half years of single parenting, I remarried. And 4 months after we got married, my mother-in-law was diagnosed with cancer. So my husband had to take some leave from work, and we went to Rhode Island for a month to take care of her. And we were with her when she passed away. And in just 3 months' time, we lost my mother-in-law, my aunt, my uncle, and then my dad in 2016. Wow. And we found out our cat had colon cancer. And that was like the tipping point for me. I was like, I can't take any more loss. I'd already moved to a different state, a different church, no friends. We had all these huge losses in our family. And I was like, I just started to not feel well. I had headaches a lot. I was cold a lot. My weight was just, I couldn't get it to budge. You know, I had my cycles weren't proper. I just thought it was from stress. My husband, God bless him, he pushed me to go to the doctor. And so I did, and found out I had hypothyroidism. I found out that I needed, you know, hormone therapy. There's a lot of things that I needed, and I was starting to feel better. But then once the calm of everything slowed down, after we had all that loss and we were back into our normal routine of me homeschooling and things going well here in Maryland, I started to look at myself again. And I remembered my ex-husband saying, no one will ever love you. Even if they find you, they will leave you. You're not worth staying for. And so I started thinking negative thoughts about myself. And so I was doing an hour and a half every day on the treadmill. I was limiting calories.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was going through MyFitnessPal. I was being very, very strict. I was way under 2,000 calories a day. Like the BMI charts, they told me, you know, you're overweight. You know, my head told me, you know, you're overweight. And my husband and my boys were both like, you have to stop this. You have to stop. And so in April of 2016, I was on Facebook one day, and a friend of mine started posting all these recipes. And I was like, what are these things that she's posting? That looks delicious. And I discovered From Healthy Mama. I went to the Facebook page. I found the beginners page that was there at that time that she was posting from. And I ordered the plan book. I mean, I'm a student. I love to study. I'm like, I'm making binders. I'm photocopying. I'm doing all the things I need to do. And so I read the plan book, and I got the first cookbook that was released at that time. And April 20th, 2016 is my term anniversary. I never looked back. And I have found that just like those truth statements, that I needed to find my survival verses from God's word about who I really was, and who God really was. I still use those today, but in, you know, like I look at Proverbs 24:16 says, for a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again. And I remember, okay, you may have had a bad day or a bad meal or whatever, but you know what? Get right back up and keep on going, because there's no shame in falling a little bit. It's when you get back up, that's the good stuff, right?
That's right.
And Philippians 4:8, you know, think on things that are true and honest and lovely and just and of good report. And so I found you. So I was like I thought, I've got it all. I know what I'm doing. I figured it out. I would watch your YouTube videos, and I would follow other coaches on Facebook. And I started purchasing some of your $5 Zoom classes, which are priceless, by the way. And
Thank you.
so I was watching them and I was taking notes on them, and I was like, whoa, she's teaching me things. I didn't know that. And you talked about the slimming cycle, but it was before you called it the slimming cycle. You were just saying, so say you eat like this, 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 and this. And I'm like, oh, that's good. So I wrote it down, and you taught me how to make a kefir smoothie. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to try this out. So I talked to my husband and he gave me the go ahead. And so I joined Buds, year-end Buds 22, and then joined Blooms and have not left. And I don't see
Oh,
myself leaving. Um,
yay.
that self-talk is important. And one thing I love about THM is where the treadmill was not sustainable. The restricting my calories was not sustainable. I was grouchy all the time. I was hungry all the time. I just couldn't get enough food, and nutrients. I've taken THM through. I finished homeschooling the kids all the way through. They went to college, and when they went to college, I said to my husband, "I want to finish my degree." My ex-husband would not let me finish. I was so close to finishing my bachelor's, and he had told me I couldn't. So I talked to Jason one night. He's like, "Yes, do it. Go for it." So I stayed on THM through my schooling, and I got my degree. And I stay on it. We had to go to Hawaii for my husband's business a few times. I stayed on plan on that long airline trip.
Yep.
Staying in the hotel. Um, since our family's in Vermont, my husband is pretty good about making sure I get home several times a year to stay with my mama. And so I stay with her for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, and I bring my food. I'll pack up a bunch of seasoning packets and plan my menu ahead of time. And so I don't have to figure
You are
out what
so
ingredients she has.
incredible. Yeah.
What ingredients does she have? What ingredients doesn't she have? So, and I keep her on plan, and, we stay on plan together.
Yeah.
Um, and some of the things that I did in the beginning that really helped were I used my phone a lot. I have a folder in my phone that's called THM Restaurants. And anytime I went to a restaurant and I found something I could eat on plan, or I knew was on plan, I would write down the name of the restaurant, type in what the meal was, if it was an S or an E. And
Yeah.
then I created this really long list, and it became second nature. For a while, I need to look at my list. Okay, we're going to such and such restaurant. What can I eat to stay on plan? Now I don't even need to do that anymore because
Yeah. You just know.
I've trained myself.
Yeah.
I keep a list of FPs on my phone in case I get in a rut and I forget. I keep an inventory on my phone of THM products. So if there's a sale, I don't have to panic and think, what do I need? I have an inventory. That's really good. And I guess the other thing I wanted to say is that the great thing about Blooms is the accountability. It's the friendships that you make. The conference, and both of them were amazing. I've met people that I never would have met otherwise. And you learn to do the hard things. You learn to be vulnerable and share with people. And a lot of them have the same stories, and they need to hear your story.
Yeah.
And in on our wonderful book that you gave us for the conference,
Yeah.
I wrote, you said the most impactful lesson I've learned, and I wrote the importance of self-talk and setting guardrails in my heart, because 1 Peter 5:7, God cares about all of us. He doesn't just
Yeah.
care about food. He cares about the way we think about ourselves.
My whole self.
Yeah.
You make me want to cry all the time, and it's not bad. It's such, oh, so much. I would love for you to go back and talk about that moment you and I had at the cafe, the first conference, and what happened the rest of that day, if you could.
Yeah. Okay. So I am an introvert naturally. And it was a miracle of God that I even went to the conference. For me to go into a room of 40 people I don't know,
Yeah.
Take that trip. But God loved my husband. He's such an encourager. And he tells me every day, I can
That
do
girl
hard
was
things.
coming.
And yeah,
Jason
yeah.
was making sure that
He
girl
was
was
making
coming.
He's like, honey, we'll make it a trip. I'll go with you and we'll have a vacation out of it, and you get to go meet your friends and, whatever. So, we do become friends, right? You see each other on Zoom every single week. If you're committed and you stay there and
Amen.
you watch,
Amen.
you put the camera on and see people
Preach.
and you get to know them, right? That's how
Yes.
you get your community.
Yeah.
And so, but I went and I still kind of felt myself being reserved. What do I have to say to these people? They don't want to talk to me. I'm just going to smile and act like everything's cool, but inside I was like, I don't know. I don't feel seen, right? And
Yeah.
but that was my own insecurities. And so even that night, after the first night, I said to my husband, I said, I don't know why I came. I just don't feel seen. There's no reason why I came. And he's like, you came because you're supposed to be here. Well, I guess it was the second day. So it was Saturday night. I said that. So Sunday morning was, no, it was Saturday morning. It was Friday
Saturday
night. So
morning
Saturday
cafe.
morning we did the conference, right? The cafe.
Cafe.
So you came and sat with me. And that was the first thing. I was like, okay, oh, she wants to talk to me. That's so sweet. And I got to chat with you one-on-one a little bit, and get to know you. And then kind of open up a little peekaboo into why I started Teach Him. And later on that day, you came up to me and you said, would you say that you're in maintenance mode? And I was like, well, my husband would say that I am, but I don't know that I would. And you asked me to go up and speak in front of everybody about how I stay in maintenance mode. And I was terrified. I was so terrified. And you're like, I'll give you the look. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. And I just knew that God was pushing me to do it. And so shaking in my boots, I went up there and talked to everybody. But what I found out from that was being real and vulnerable. People need to hear that, because I had people come up to me afterwards that said the sweetest things. And, I became real friends with these people. When you don't just show a Facebook, this is what I am, when you actually get raw. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, it just, that was a hard thing to do, but it was important to me. And, I ended up making Bloom's buddies, and, we ended up just connecting, all of us, I think. And then even the second time going, I was still nervous walking into that cafe that first night, which, by the way, was brilliant that you did it that way.
Thank you.
100%. That was the best thing.
Thank
And
you.
I mean, I literally got in the door and I already had hugs, and I was like, okay, it's like coming home. It's like coming home. There were no more jitters after that,
Yes. Yes.
And yet I still let myself down a little bit, because that last day, people were sharing their stories and raising their hand, and I felt the Lord pushing me. I was shaking.
I almost just said, Patty, your turn.
I know. And I just felt like I needed to say something, but I chickened out. I didn't believe in myself. I said, no, I can't do it. And when the conference was over, I was so mad at myself. But you did this seed challenge where you gave everybody these seed packets, and you said, what are you going to work on? And mine was this, believing in myself enough to be vulnerable and to share myself. And so when you asked to do the podcast, I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I thought, you know what? This is what God wants me to do. So
after the second conference was over, didn't some of y'all stay and talk, and you shared at that time?
Yeah, we did. So I had some questions about another family member who I'll protect her privacy.
Sure,
she's going through some eating struggles and stuff. And so I wasn't really sure what to do about that. And one of the ladies she had shared her story publicly in front of everybody, that she had gone through that same thing, something very similar. So I went over to a group of ladies and we just started chatting, and Holly was asked to give her testimony in front of everybody, that group of ladies. And then I was asked to share as well. So I did open up some, and I was grateful for that opportunity that God had given.
So good. I'm so thankful that I know you. Like truly, truly. So good. So good. You are a miracle. You really are.
God, it's all God. It's all God. I could not have survived any of it without him. And to this day, even, I still can't survive without him. I can't do the hard things without him, but, he's always there if we just seek.
Yep. He's just there, just waiting, like, come on, girl, I'm right here. Come on. Yep.
That's one thing I love about Blooms too, is, first of all, your content is bar none amazing. I mean, when I went through Buds and you shared your screen at the end saying, okay, ladies, this is what Bloom's content was. And that was 2 years ago, right? So that's nothing like this now.
No.
I was blown away, and I was like, okay, this girl's got it going on. I need to learn more. And, but the further you get into it, you realize the accountability is just so important,
Yeah, the community is so beautiful. And, there's been some loss there, and it's really been hard for me as a mother hen. But the beauty is we've had more join, and that's okay. That's the natural wax and wane of life and communities. And hopefully the ones that left will come back if they need it again, but God's doing a work in me too. And when I hear you guys' stories, it encourages me to dig deeper in my own life And so I'm so grateful when y'all share. And the conference is a perfect place for that. But it happens on the live on Monday nights as well, or even in the non-skill victories, things like that. And so I'm just so grateful. I know that I'm pouring into y'all, but y'all pour in me too. And when I celebrated my coach anniversary or the 5 years of Southern and Healthy, I mean, it was just like, it had just been my birthday. So all the sweetness. And then it was that. And it was just like, woo, like I'm not gonna be able to fit through the door. But those moments, I go back and read those things, and it helps so much because there's a lot of negative talk, just like you said. And so really clinging to scripture and clinging to truth it's just something I can't afford to not do. I have to do that, to keep doing what I'm doing because it's a really hard job. And, coming from your background, you had that moment with those peels where you wanted to be numb. I have felt that. I've been suicidal before. I was that next step. And it is not a great place to be at all. I know that's to be without saying, but I can't imagine what would have happened if I would have the people that I know, not necessarily the lives I've touched and all that stuff, but I wouldn't have known you. And I'm so grateful for so many reasons, of course, that all that didn't happen. But then also learning all the hard things that I've been through, I use to help y'all. The hard things that you've been through, the people that just heard your story, whether they've had the perfect marriage, there's still something. And it's amazing what you did. I mean, what you did just for survival, caring for your children, speaking up for yourself, just making it happen. You're such a quiet, you are a quiet, little, woo, quiet, but you've got a fire in you. And it's kind of tell me what I can't do and watch, but in a sweet way. That's the way you are. Just to know. And then also your humbleness is just amazing. I mean, and it started, I'm sure, before your story that you shared, but seeing it where, you went to work to clean the church and God had provided the money for your children's boots, and just accepting that. It's just incredible. It really is. And I just love it so much. And the other thing that I love so much about you, this is a silly one, is your holiday treat prep. It is too legit.
Now listen, I had to do that. I had to. I had to, because like my kids every year I would bake for them, right? So I always make cookies and fudge and candies, and every year they expect it. It doesn't matter if they've grown and flown, they come back, they expect it, right? And so I don't want to be tempted. So what I did was one year I'm like, I'm going to find replacements for as many of these things as I can, stock them in my freezer a month beforehand. So when December comes and I start all that baking, if I'm making snickerdoodles for the kids, I don't need to worry about getting my hands where they don't need to be because I can grab one from the freezer. And those lasted me legit. I just finished that stash. It lasts me a really long time. I shared them with my mom. I shared them with my husband. It's not like if I didn't have self-control, I couldn't do it because then, I'd be digging in every night.
Right.
So I have to be careful, but the replacement is there because otherwise it's not going to happen.
I love it. So, my 6th annual Trimtastic holiday is coming up.
And I know I'm signed up.
And and I think that I need Patti's holiday list to offer these people.
Gotcha.
Can we do it? Can we do it? Y'all have no idea. It's incredible. She's like, this is what I made because I do a Blooms Bake Off for the month of December. And I don't know if you've won, but you probably should have. Oh my gosh, it is incredible. Could you share just a little bit of what's your couple of your favorites for the holidays? Because I'm trying to remember when this will air. Hang on. When will this air? It's going to be a while. Okay, November 11th, this will be airing. So it's going to be getting close. It's going to be getting close.
It's good to know that. Let's see. Well, my husband's favorites are the Oreo balls. I make those.
I've never made those.
They're so easy and they're delicious. You have to make those. Everything I've made freezes really well too. So which is really great. Joyful Eats has a bunch of really good ones. I love her
Yes.
chocolate almond thumbprint cookies, and
Yes.
she has a cinnamon roll cookie that she makes. I'm trying to look and see if I have my list. I know I do
I
on
know
my
you do
phone.
too.
I have so many lists on my phone.
I
Oh, and
love
my
how
favorite.
organized you are. You know
Yeah.
that makes me happy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I have to be. Oh, here we go. I found it. Um, so I make cinnamon roll cookies, chocolate almond thumbprint cookies, raspberry thumbprint cookies from around the
Mm,
family table,
hmm.
snickerdoodles from Molly Miller Wellness. Those were really
Yeah.
good. Chocolate chip shortbread cookies, chewy gingerbread collagen cookies that are an FP.
Oh,
Magic cookie bars, tagalong cookie bars. I make the cranberry bliss bars.
yes, those are
Um,
good.
there's a lot. I have a whole
I
list.
love it. I love it. Well, we'll make a beautiful PDF with
Pleasures.
your beautiful picture with me.
Oh, there you go.
Right, your husband took.
That sounds like fun. And
Yeah.
it's funny too, because like when I go away to Vermont, like, so when I make the meals, what I do is typically is I'll make the dinner, we'll have leftovers for lunch the next day, you know, because then it alternates your fuel so nicely, right? And then I have these super cube things that I've posted about before, and I put them in the freezer so it makes little single serves. And so when I go on trips, my husband just eats from the freezer. It keeps him on plan because he doesn't cook at all,
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
all. So it's like, I mean, he can burn a grilled cheese
He
like
has
nobody's
one
business,
fault in
but
his whole life.
yeah. So his go-to when I'm sick, if I have a migraine, it's either pull something out of the freezer or he picks up fast food.
I love it.
On plan for me, of course. Yeah, so that's fun. But my favorite sweatpant meal is pizza grilled cheese. I tell
So
everybody
good. Trim
about it.
healthy table. So good.
And so many people are like, I've never made that. I'm like, what? Make it. It's so
Make it.
easy.
Does it have a
Yeah.
picture? When I talk about stuff, and I think it does have a picture, but it's usually they don't have a picture is why nobody's made it. But it is delicious. My kids
Mhm.
make, they call it pizza toast.
Oh, it's so good. And I always add green peppers on mine because my grandma used to make homemade pizza and she always did green peppers and onions. And so
Oh yeah,
little green peppers on there and think of
love
her.
it. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
my
That's
favorite.
awesome.
And ridiculous meatballs and spaghetti. That's my husband's favorite. Nobody talks about that one either, but that is a legit recipe. It's very good.
Nice. Love it. What would you say is your favorite non-skill victory with your trim healthy journey?
Well, shortly after we were going to the church we're going to now, they started up a Bible study and it was at somebody's house on base here. And I really didn't know hardly anybody. And it was pizza night. Everybody bring pizza, right? And so I said to my husband, I don't want to eat the crust, but I don't want to look stupid in front of all these people. What am I going to do? I can't just scrape my toppings off and just, you know. And he's like, well, why not? And I was like, because they don't know me. He's like, so your health is important. Go ahead and do it. And
Yes,
so
Jason.
yeah, he's so good for me.
Mm.
So I did. He bought me a small mini pizza, individual size, and a big old salad. And when I got there, I went into their kitchen and I just scraped my toppings off like I normally would. And I loved it. And the funny thing is, everybody commented in a good way. They're like, wow, what are you doing? That
Good for
looks
you.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, well, the crust makes me sick. So I don't want to eat.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That's
That was
awesome.
so, because before I wouldn't do that in front of other people.
Yeah. That's amazing. Oh, I love it. And you raised such sweet boys.
They're good kids.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I
hard
love
on my mama heart with one being in South Carolina now, but
Yeah.
you know.
I'm a little concerned about my future with my kids because I have so many of these things, and I'm like, where one of them's not going to be here forever. You know what I mean? Like one of them is probably going to move off somewhere crazy. They'll live in Alaska or something.
Oh yeah, I've had my moments of like, I mean, especially coming from, you know, I homeschooled them. I was a single mom. We were together all the time. When I went to
Yes.
ladies' Bible studies, they came with me, like
Yeah.
literally with me all the time.
Right.
And then they went off to college and that was kind of hard, but they were coming back, you know. And
Yeah.
then when my oldest got his first apartment in Virginia where he was going to school the second time to get his master's degree, I was like, okay, so he's not coming back, you know. And now I'm like, what if I don't live near my grandchildren when they have kids, you
I
know?
know. I feel you.
It's like, don't worry about it.
We're not going to worry about tomorrow.
That's right.
God has it all in control. That's some good stuff. I love your verse, 1 Peter 5:7. You've said it a couple times, and it is an incredible verse because I've gone, and I've shared this before, many years feeling like I'm unloved. I was loved. My parents loved me. They still do. They're right there. You know, Wes Gaskins loved me since 9th grade, probably before if you asked him. But I have felt that unloved, and it's a lie. And to me, loving someone and caring for them goes hand in hand. And that verse means a lot to me too, because the end of it says he cares for you. And I could say he loves too, not trying to change the Bible or anything, but like it hits me in a very special place. And it's a very comforting scripture. And I love that you bring it up. It's so
And it's
good.
casting all your cares.
Yes.
So cares about
Everything.
every tiny little detail. It doesn't
Everything.
matter how small it is.
Yeah.
It's significant to him.
I know you've heard me talk about this when I'm in Zoom and I'm telling people, especially buds, new to me, and they're all like nervous and all this stuff. And then I bust out with, have you thought about asking God to help you control what goes in your mouth? And
Yeah.
they're like, excuse me, what? Why would I talk to God about that? And I'm like,
He
buddy,
cares.
yes, he gave you that body. He wants
Yeah.
you to do well. Like yes. Oh, it's so good. I love that. That's so good.
And I
It's
love it that you bring the Lord into your coaching too.
Thank you. It's not saturated, but I definitely sprinkle it in. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I
You
mean,
honor him.
what'd you say?
You honor him. That's for sure.
Thank you. Thank
I think
you.
that's why he blesses you.
Yeah. That's, yeah, I don't deserve it. So it's
Bless
definitely
you.
that. Yeah. Yeah. Was there anything else you wanted to share with us?
I don't think so. Just thank you for the opportunity to share and for the
You did
encouragement.
great.
So
Yeah. You did great. Your story deserved to be heard and told and listened to. And I do believe it's going to help change some lives. I really do. Because I have some rough days and I'll think about you and I'm like, she overcame, she did it, insurmountable circumstances. It was just so many things. Even after you and Jason met and got married and you had all that loss and you still made it. You still made it. So good.
it's funny. I was talking to my husband this morning. I was like, I can't be on the podcast. He's like, you raised 2 boys by yourself. You can be on a podcast.
Truth. Truth. That is so true. So true. Thank you so much. You want to tell them bye?
Bye.
Bye, y'all.